All right, let's talk about some Miami Dolphins trade targets. I'm Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today. There are some big-name players holding out of their team's respective minicamp that could ultimately be on the trade block. I mean, you see it with Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith for Miami. Well, what other players out there could Miami maybe go out and target? Now, we know the team needs for Miami are still tight end if Jonnu Smith gets dealt, offensive line depth, and cornerback is the most part after Jalen Ramsey departs. Right now, Miami has $13.6 million in cap space, but I do want to make it clear, once they inevitably deal Jalen Ramsey away, they will free up $9.9 million. Then they would have $23.5 million in cap space. Let's get into the first Dolphins trade target that is currently holding out. That is T.J. Watt. Now, these are all going to be big names for the most part. And I know some people might think it's unrealistic they trade for T.J. Watt. But, hey, it could be interesting. I mean, I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility that Miami swings big. Do I think it's likely? No. But like I mentioned, I think Watt, who is seeking a really big deal, could the Steelers look to move off of him if they can't agree to anything? Maybe. Like I said, I'm not going to rule it out. So you have to ask the question, could Miami be interested in acquiring T.J. Watt? We'll talk more about him in a second. But listen, folks, if the Dolphins make a trade, whether they are acquiring a player, whether they are trading away a player, we will have you covered with every piece of news that you need. Subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a piece of content we put out because it is daily. And when those trades ultimately occur, we'll be the first one to let you know. Okay, when you get back to T.J. Watt, he's seeking a massive new contract. I mean, there was a lot of Myles Garrett trade rumors earlier this offseason, and then he signed an extension where he's getting paid $40 million per year. I don't know if T.J. Watt wants that, but he certainly is going to want at least $35 million per season. And can you really blame him? I mean, he's been probably the best edge rusher in football over the last 4 years. Like, when he has played a full season, which has essentially been 3 of the last 4 years, he had 22.5 sacks, 19 sacks, and then 11.5 sacks. This guy is as dynamic as it comes. But another underrated thing that he does extremely well is what he realizes when he can't get to the quarterback. Not going to win every rep. The great ones don't. Like, the best evers can't win every rep. So when he knows he's done on a specific rep, he floats around the line of scrimmage, reads the quarterback's eyes, makes sure they don't scramble out to the pocket, and then gets his hands on the ball at the line of scrimmage, forcing a lot of incompletions or tip balls that ultimately become interceptions for their linebackers or corners. So he is such a multifaceted player where he can get after the quarterback, he can stop the run, he can disrupt you at the line of scrimmage. Like, he is just a hard-nosed, leading football player that would ultimately just instill more toughness and more of a culture to this Dolphins defense and locker room, which I think would be welcomed no matter what. Now, if you're thinking trade, here is an interesting idea. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I want to make this very clear. We're just talking about some potential trade targets. What if you traded Tyreek Hill to Pittsburgh for T.J. Watt? There is a lot of buzz, there always is, about the Steelers looking for a new wide receiver. They traded for DK Metcalf. They signed Aaron Rodgers. Could they say, well, we don't want to pay T.J. Watt what he's looking for. Maybe we trade him away before we lose him for nothing. We don't want to hold out. We don't want the distraction. We'll create the best wide receiver duo in football in Tyreek Hill and DK Metcalf. Maybe might be number 2 behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but you get the point. Now, the question is, would it make sense for Miami? I don't know if it does. You have 3 unbelievable edge rushers already in Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. You have Mo Kamara and Quentin Bell as your 4-5 in all likelihood in terms of your edge. Like, I'll say this. It's probably not worth it to trade Tyreek Hill for T.J. Watt, because then you would have to extend T.J. Watt for $35 million per season without a question. Like, it's probably not worth it. But I'll say this again. You have no future at edge outside of Chop Robinson right now. And I'll just leave it at that. All right, pin comment on today's show. Would you trade for T.J. Watt? Type T if you would trade. Type P if you would pass. Would you take the swing, add T.J. Watt to this roster? I won't just say for Tyreek Hill. Let's just say in any trade. T for trade, P for pass. Well, in the spirit of talking about edge rushers, we could talk about Trey Hendrickson as well, the edge from the Cincinnati Bengals, who his holdout seems a lot more motivated to end in a trade than maybe one of the best defensive players in Steelers history in T.J. Watt. Similar to T.J., Trey Hendrickson is a dominant pass rusher who wants a massive new contract. Now, I do not think he wants to be paid as much as T.J. Watt wants to get paid. I think Trey Hendrickson is just looking for $30, $31, $32 million. And you hear that and say, just that much money. And I say, yeah, I know, it's probably crazy to say. But like I said, Garrett got 40. T.J. Watt wants at least 35. Trey wanting 30 would be a pretty good bargain. Because he, over the past couple of seasons, has been actually better than T.J. Watt. Like, yeah, at least in terms of getting after the quarterback, over the past 2 years, both players have played 17 games. T.J. Watt has had a 19-sack season and an 11.5 sack season. Hendrickson's had back-to-back 17.5. Quick math, 35 is more than 30.5. So he actually has been more productive on a Bengals defense that doesn't even have as good as a well-rounded attack as Pittsburgh. You could say Watt benefits from him having some good teammates on the interior and on the edge like Alex Highsmith and others to be named. Hendrickson hasn't been able to have that for the most part, and he's still putting up ridiculously good numbers. Like, I'll say this, and this goes to the Watt conversation, this goes to the Trey Hendrickson conversation. As fun as it would be to create the best pass rush in all of football in Trey Hendrickson, Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. And who knows, maybe they trade Jalen Phillips in one of those deals for Watt or Hendrickson and just create Chubb, Chop in the one you trade for. I'm likely not trading for an expensive edge. But to play devil's advocate, as I just mentioned, quick little counterpoint, you have no long-term play at edge outside of Chop Robinson. This could very well be Bradley Chubb's last season on the roster. Jalen Phillips is under contract for just this season. This is his fifth-year player option year, so he's not under contract for next season. And there's no reason to believe Mo Kamara could be a lead edge too. So I could see Miami saying, you know what? We have no future at the edge position. What if we traded Jalen Phillips in draft capital for either T.J. Watt or Trey Hendrickson? And now you have a future at the position in Trey or T.J. with Chop, with Chubb or Mo being your third guy. That's the counterpoint onto why maybe a trade could actually go down. Now, this one's a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver from the Washington Commanders. And you say, why is this one more interesting? They have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I'll explain more here in a second. But shocker on Terry McLaurin, he wants a new contract. He is entering the final year of his deal. And I could understand why he wants a new contract. He has been there his entire career. He has been a trooper, never making a fuss of when he had bad quarterback play. He's a little bit older, so this is his last chance to really cash in on a big-time contract. He wants close to $30 million per season, if not exactly 30. I think he wants similar to that DK Metcalf contract that he ultimately got from the Pittsburgh Steelers after they acquired him from Seattle, which I think he deserves. You see the stats. He consistently puts up 4 or 5 touchdowns a year. He's had 1,000 yards each of the last 4 seasons. And the one thing that he has never had is elite quarterback play. He finally got it with Jane Daniels, and he had 80 catches, 1,100 yards, and 13 tutties. Like, yeah, I think he would fit this roster really, really well. And the question I would ask, similar to like the T.J. Watt hypothetical Tyreek for T.J., would you trade Tyreek to Washington for Terry McLaurin and then extend him? Because Tyreek Hill is not going to want a new contract, right? Like, he's got such a large cap hit and number for next season where he's likely just going to get released from whatever team he plays for, if it's Miami or not. So if you're Washington, you trade for Tyreek, like, all right, 1-year deal. And he's not going to make a fuss about it like Terry McLaurin is right now. And if you're Miami, you say, well, we're probably going to release Tyreek after this year anyway. McLaurin and Jalen Waddle are a much better combination because McLaurin's got the ability to beat you deep, play over the middle of the field, better hands and a more physical wide receiver to complement Jalen Waddle's blazing speed and route running. Like, I would honestly think about it if I was Miami. The question is, would Washington want to do that? The one thing with Terry is that he is older than you think. He's turning 30 in September. And are you giving McLaurin a 3-year, $30 million per season contract where it's like a 3 for $90 extension for his age 31, 32, and 33 seasons? He has shown no sign of decline, so I don't think it would be that scary of a contract to give out, but it is one thing to give you a little bit cause for concern. But I will say, I think I like Terry McLaurin getting traded for and swapping Hill for Terry more than trading for either Trey Hendrickson or T.J. Watt. All right, we talk about 3 blockbuster trade targets that are holding out right now. I've got 2 more that aren't holding out here in a second. But name your top Dolphins trade target that you would like to see Miami pursue. Take Chris Greer's job. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Want to name quickly other trade targets. Now, we've talked about Greg Newsome. We've talked about Jalen Watson in the past. We're not going to talk corner on today's show. But we do know that a tight end might be necessary with Jonnu Smith on the out. So Michael Mayer, the Las Vegas Raiders tight end, who's been on the trade block in the past. But there's also an interesting rumor out there that Dillon Gabriel, the 3rd-round pick by the Cleveland Browns, could be a Dolphins trade target. There is a rumor out there that I think I'm going to do a full video on Dillon Gabriel and a potential trade for him coming up here soon. But I do want to just do a quick cliff notes. The rumor is that Miami was going to take Dillon Gabriel with their pick at the end of the 3rd round at 101. Ultimately, he went a couple picks ahead of them, 99 with Gabriel. I think it was 99, to be exact. And then they traded back. They viewed him as a good fit. And if Dillon Gabriel loses the QB battle to Shedeur Sanders and is behind Shedeur, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco, well, then they might just ultimately trade Dillon Gabriel. And maybe Miami is like, you know what? We like him more than Quinn Ewers. We'll take him as our backup if Zach Wilson continues to struggle. So, a little quick Cliff Notes version there. But like I said, full video on that coming soon over the next probably week or so. But that's why you subscribe. And make sure you are subscribed, turn on notifications, so when we make that video, you don't miss a piece of that. But we also have more content coming out around minicamp and more news and rumors. So subscribe, join the channel today.